lot of people right now that kind of don't know what's going on. It's a lot of craziness, as we say, but this confusion and craziness is actually a positive thing right now for us. I want to bring our attention to that, because if you think about it, we need to disrupt things, and the only things that will obviously disrupt what's going on is truthful information coming out and being kind of hard to deal with. We got things like Kanye West and his statements recently.
My mom saved my life. There would have been no Kanye West because my dad was too busy.
We got that going on. You know, what's the other things going on? We have the federal judge who was the federal judge that was assigned to the case, the Epstein case. Suddenly, house comes under attack. We see that going on.
Investigators say a man wearing a FedEx uniform shot Angelucci dead in his doorway on July 11th. It's a case with disturbing similarities to this deadly shooting at a federal judge's.
The weekend attack on Judge Esther Salas's family. Her 20-year-old son was killed, her husband shot by a suspect dressed in a FedEx uniform with his face covered. The alleged shooter, Manhattan attorney and self-described anti-feminist Roy Den Hollander, was found dead today of a self-inflicted gunshot wound. A FedEx package addressed to the judge in his car.
Delaware with strange fruits and the different crazy things that have been happening in our own home state for the last decade plus. That it's not yet national news.
His brother is community activist dealing with the fact that there are lynchings going on in Delaware that now is beginning to be uncovered, that he's been going on for a long time. So without any further ado, I want to just go right into the story with Brother Dr. Jahi Issa. Could you first tell us how your situation at Delaware State?
Going on in Portland, obviously, where it was essentially a staging. It seemed to be a staging ground, and basically they were trying these new tactics where law enforcement, federal law enforcement, were knowingly riding around in unmarked vehicles, of course, unnamed, unmarked personnel, and they were literally snatching protesters off of the streets late
clashes. Growing calls for these unmarked officers to leave Portland.
This is an attack on our democracy.
Local Democrats say their presence has inflamed tensions with protesters.
The videos, the pictures, the experiences that we're all witnessing here in Portland should be shocking to all Americans.
What is going on? Videos posted to social media show federal officers pulling a protester into an unmarked van and driving off. Video from Thursday also shows tear gas, which Portland police say they did not use, prompting questions as to who did.
I'm saying all that to say this. We know that there are things going on in this country that are not on the up and up. Also, I want to put a little blurb in here too. Let's remember that historically we know that everything that's been said to be a conspiracy theory, most of these things have turned out to actually be true, and it's just that the mainstream media and press don't want to publish and publicize these things because they work against the power structure that is in place. So the media, as we know, is owned by a very small group of people, small group of families collectively. And the media is used to push and essentially propagate all information that they want to get out. So we are aware of this.
In the early 1980s, roughly 50 different companies owned 90% of American media. By 1992, that number had dropped to less than 24. And in recent years, that same 90% has fallen to just 6 major conglomerates. Although various mergers and layers of external control make this an inexact number, most of the big 6 hold interests in film production, cable and broadcast television, news, sports, music, and online streaming.
The reality that many of the things that you're told in history and classes and just generally concerning this country are a lie.
The truth about history and slavery is that it was an issue when the founding fathers were developing the United States of America, and it continued to remain an issue until the end of the Civil War. While slavery was an issue during the Civil War, it was more for the southern slave states than the northern states. It was not the reason why the Civil War started. President Abraham Lincoln said himself, if he could preserve the Union by holding on to slavery, he would. So if you were told that the Civil War started because President Abraham Lincoln wanted to end slavery, you were lied to in your history class.
Whenever somebody controls the information that is being disseminated, when there are potentially intentions and motives that are attached to information dissemination, then it is no longer something that is necessarily a channel of truth or a channel of truthful information for your knowledge and for your insight. So understand that the media is controlled. Information often is attached with motivation and intention, and therefore you will be misinformed in many, many ways so that you can continue to essentially stay safe. We have a system that profits from us and does not profit with us. So at the end of the day, we have to remain awake, we have to remain conscious, we have to remain truthful with ourselves, and that is the truth, straight up. Love each and every one of you. Let's keep pushing, let's keep pressing, let's stay woke, let's stay alert, and let's continue to protect one another. Let's continue to educate one another, inform one another, and love one another, most importantly. So that's all we got.